Hey, Hanyani, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Ethan?
I'm good, thank you very much. So I think you know the drill by now. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who's Hanyani? Where did you grow up? And say, where did you matriculate?
All right. So as mentioned, my name is Hanyani. I grew up in a very small town called Malamulele, and that's where I attended both primary and high school. So I matriculated at a school called EPP Minga. It was a government school back in 2010 during
Ah,
the World Cup.
hey, that was a big year.
That was a big year.
So, was the school in Malamlel?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then what happened after that? So, what did you want to study? Did you know exactly what you wanted to study, or what happened after that?
So funny enough, I'd always wanted to study something in engineering. I'd always thought I was gonna be a computer engineer. But as I was doing accounting, I felt more and more in love with it, and I love anything business related.
So,
So that desire for accounting won, and so I decided to study accounting.
so you studied accounting. Where did you study accounting, and how long was it?
So I studied at the University of Cape Town.
Okay,
So I did a bachelor's degree, BCom,
okay.
for 3 years. And then I wanted to qualify as a chartered accountant as well. So you are required to study a postgraduate diploma slash honors in accounting. So that's one extra year. So I spent about 4 years studying in Cape Town.
Oh, cool. So
Yeah.
from Malamlela to Cape Town, and then what happened after your university years?
Um, so after my university years, I stayed as an academic trainee slash assistant lecturer.
Ah,
And what that is you basically help the lecturers in terms of creating course material, lecturing, tutoring, doing consultation. You basically a lecturer. So I did that for 1 year, and I lectured management, accounting, and finance, which was quite a difficult topic or subject because it's very very technical.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's what I did immediately post my honors year,
Okay.
and then I went on to do my CA training slash articles at one of the big four accounting firms. So I did that for 2 years, and then qualified as a chartered accountant.
Wow, interesting. I mean, your story is quite unique. I mean, often we hear people wanting to finish, leave university, go work. You decided, no, I want to stay a little bit. Was it by choice? Did you plan it? How did you come to the conclusion that you wanted to assist lecturing?
So I'm actually one person that loves trying out things. So I've tried out a lot of things in my life. I've tried to be a comedian. Didn't work out that well. I've played a bit of cricket. I've tried so many things. The list goes on and on. And
Okay.
so when I was studying at GCT, I thought, why can't I be a tutor? And let me just try this thing out. I started doing voluntary tutoring during my early years of my varsity lives, and I kind of enjoyed that. And people always came to me to like ask questions. And then I thought, you know what, let me just formally apply and be a tutor. I might as well just get paid for it. So
Make
I
some
applied.
at it.
Exactly. So I applied to be a management accounting tutor. So I did that for a year during my honors year. So this is in 2014, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, why don't I apply to be a academic trainee slash assistant lecturer as well? So I applied, I got interviewed, and I got the job. So
Sure.
that's what happened.
Sure, that must be quite exciting. I mean, sometimes I wonder what it's like lecturing and being in front of students. Every time I see lectures, we always see older people,
Yeah.
at university more especially. I mean, to see a younger person lecturing is quite must have been quite interesting.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting. Especially like you said, as a young person, also as an African, black lecturer, which was not quite common at that time, probably still now as well. So it was
Yeah.
quite daunting at first, but I really, really enjoyed the experience. It was one of the my best years of working, to be quite honest.
Wow. Okay. So then you
Yeah.
left that, you went and did your articles to pursue your CA qualification. Um,
Yes.
that was for 2 years. Take us through a little bit of what that looked like. I mean, we hear a lot of professionals talk about we are doing articles.
Mm.
What is that? What is articles? What does that look like?
So it's basically training that you get before you can qualify as a chartered accountant. So how it works is before you can qualify in South Africa, you have to do your undergrad, do your postgrad, and then apply in one of the designated firms to do your articles. So you can do them at an audit firm, you can do them at a bank, you can do them at SARS, wherever they offer these articles. So the articles here years are 3 years. So you're basically supposed to spend about 3 years doing your articles, training, and then during those 3 years, you are supposed to write board exams as well. So you do two board exams. Um, you do your initial test of competence, which is essentially it's more testing your core skills in terms of the four disciplines in accounting, which is management accounting, finance, accounting, auditing and governance, as well as taxation.
Mm.
So they test that, and then on your third year of articles, you write a second board exam called your APC, which is your assessment of professional competency, and there they check it's more soft skills as well as business skills. So it's more of a case study based exam to
Mm.
check if you are suitable to carry the CASA designation.
Ah, awesome. So it makes sense that you guys are working quite hard for this title of a CA. But
Yes.
it comes with perks, from what I understand. I mean, is it true? I mean, just out of curiosity, is it true that your salary jump is significant from a graduate, from a accounting trainee to when you are fully qualified and now you're working as a CA?
It is indeed true, because you basically take a minimum of 7 years to qualify as a chartered accountant, so you do get remunerated for that. But
Okay.
but not only that, I think the CA designation offers a lot of opportunities,
Mm.
even to work abroad. So immediately post your articles, a lot of people get opportunities to do secondments overseas.
Mm.
So they spend a minimum of 3 years, sometimes 6 months, or even beyond that, working in Europe, in the USA, or any of these other countries,
Mm.
where you get to get international exposure, international work experience, and then get to travel a bit as well.
Wow.
And because the CA designation is world recognized, it's very easy for you to find work overseas. So
Mm.
there's a lot of perks that come with it. So yeah, it is quite a rewarding career path, I must say, not just financially.
Now you're starting to see some of those monies that you've been accounting for.
A fraction of it, but it still counts.
Of course, no accountant will ever say, yes, it's actually a lot of money. Oh man. So you finished with your articles. I'm assuming you passed your board exams. You're not talking about difficulty there. And then what happened? Did you find permanent employment or consider going back to lecturing? What happened?
So I actually did. UCT did actually pursue me to come back to lecturing, but at that time I thought, let me get a bit of commercial experience.
Hmm.
Um, Otherwise, you just become a glorified tutor in a sense.
Okay.
I think it always helps to get a bit of industry experience before you go back to lecturing. So it is something that's on the cards. So I then decided to stay in one of the big four audit firms as an audit manager.
Oh wow, cool. Jeez, man. So, oh, okay, now I see why the CA designation is so prestigious. Already you're jumping into employment and already a manager.
Exactly. It does come with those pegs.
Cool. So now, Hanyani, tell me. So I mean, you spoke about the different pillars within accounting that you could possibly do. Which one did you choose for yourself? Did you go with the normal accounting,
So
uh,
I chose auditing.
auditing? Okay,
So
cool.
I'm in the audit profession, but like I said, there's many other things that you can do. You can, decide to go into the banks and do something like, investment management, corporate investment banking, corporate finance. You can do taxations, and within all these different categories, there's like subcategories. You can do taxation in, corporate tax, VAT, customs, mergers and acquisitions, and the list goes on and on. You can do, management accounting, management consulting, etc. And you can choose to be in finance, where you normally deal with financial reporting, etc.
Okay. And I mean, something I actually wanted to ask you when you're talking about your 3-year internship process as a CA trainee. One of the things that I hear it's brilliant in that program is that there's an element of rotation around some of those pillars. Is it a defined rotation for everyone, or do you choose your own path in that type of rotation that happens?
So it depends. It depends where you are doing your articles. So if you are doing your articles, let's say at SARS, the South African Revenue Services, you can rotate within the different departments. So you can do, VAT as a specialist. You can go into corporate taxation, where you do with general tax, taxes of mining, taxes of financial services, etc. And then if you're at a bank, you can also rotate within the divisions at a bank. And then when you're at an audit firm, you don't necessarily rotate in terms of, your industry, but you rotate clients. So you'll be moving from one client to the other, and then learning different set of skills in those clients.
Okay. All right. Cool. And then, as an auditor, do you have a designated client, or like how you did in your training program, you rotate different clients as well as now a professional audit manager?
Yes. So as a trainee, they do give you a list of clients that you service. So at a particular point in time, you'll be servicing these clients, and then when you are done with that audit, you'll move to the next client, and then within that period, there will be a lot of trainings, studies, and exams as well.
Okay. And then maybe an interesting question for myself is why audit? Why did you choose the audit pillar?
So for me, I just enjoyed it, and not a lot of people enjoy it. I must say that. But for me, I just enjoyed it, especially because you get to solve important problems, complex problems. You always see like something new every day, and that's what I love about audits is you're always learning, you're always interacting with different people. So I really enjoy that. I think I enjoy just meeting different people, and then within audit you get to build relationships, and you get to talk about other things that are not work with your clients as well. So it's quite, it can be interesting, but not everyone is meant for it.
I mean, the other part of audit, which I guess it's nice on your side, it's not always so nice from the client side because often it feels like someone is checking up on you. And is that a culture thing? Is it because I mean, a lot of time you come to an organization as an auditor, a lot of people kind of get very uncomfortable around you. So I'm quite curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you work your way around warming up to those relationships and making it not seem as difficult as people think it is?
Yeah. So sometimes, especially if you are too junior, if you are, doing your articles and you are on the ground, dealing with the client, it can be difficult because not everyone is very appreciative to auditors.
Mm.
especially because it's seen as like additional work. Now I have to prepare this file just for the auditors. But I mean, it takes relationships, management, and I think that's why this career is so rewarding. It's because you get to grow quickly, in terms of your soft skills, in terms of conflict management, dealing with difficult people, diffusing difficult situations, budgeting, negotiating fees and things like that. So I think in terms of your business acumen, if I can put it like that, you do grow quite quickly, and that's what I love about it. But like you said, it can be challenging, especially when there's like issues and findings and things like that.
Okay, cool. So let's define this audit term. I mean, I think we use it loosely, and some people might not necessarily understand to what full extent it means. So when you come into an organization as an auditor, what are you typically there for? What are you there to do?
So our primary purpose is to express an opinion on the financial statements.
Okay.
In layman's terms, is we want to tell you if your financial statements are clean or not. It's obviously a lot more complex than that, but in layman's terms, that's what we do. But it's a project, and it's a big project on its own, um, because we have to audit based on professional standards, and based on regulations, and it is a very highly regulated industry.
Mm,
So what we typically do, if it's a new audit, even on recurring audit, is we start with some sort of risk management, or even before that, planning, where we go and just try and understand the business, meet with the different stakeholders, meet with management, meet with the finance team, meet with the different committees, risk committee, meet with the audit committees as well, just to try and understand the business, try and understand where they are, try and understand where the risks are,
mm.
and that's where we do some sort of risk assessment, which kind of drives our audit approach, i.e., how much do we audit, and at what point in time do we audit.
Okay. Sure. That's quite a mouthful. And I think I like how you simplified it in the beginning so that we can understand the depth at which you guys go into.
Yeah.
And so something that would be very interesting is that you said you offer an opinion uh, about the financials of an organization. So if you've offered an opinion about we mentor student for argument's sake, and it turns out that we become bankrupt after all of that, or something happens and we have to be liquidated. What is the impact on you as my auditor? If you've said my financials are clean, by the way.
So it's a very difficult question because there's a lot of I guess legal nuances around that. But I think it's important to point out a couple of things. Firstly, that we audit historic information.
Uh,
So we will audit, if we are signing financial statements now in August, we'll probably be signing up to 30 June 2020. So we, in most cases, are auditing historic information. And then maybe the second thing to point out is that we are not explicitly there to pick up fraud, or to replace management. So management still has a duty to ensure that the company runs smoothly and that it makes the required returns for its different stakeholders. We are required, though, to assess the going concern of that company at a point in time. So at the point when we sign financial statements, we are required to audit and to assess whether this company is a going concern. And in order to do that, we do a regular process, where we talk to management. We use our prior audit knowledge of the audits of the clients. We look at the forecast as well. We check if those forecasts make sense. And if we find that there's a material uncertainty in your going concern, and in layman's terms, if we pick up that there's uncertainty in this company continuing as a going concern, Then we do reports to those charged with governance, and by that I mean, to the audit committee, depending on the size of the clients, to the risk committee sometimes, and to management as well. And then in certain cases, we'll explicitly put that on our opinion, that as much as we are saying the last 12 months are okay, i.e., we're giving you a clean opinion, there is a material uncertainty about the going concern of this company, i.e., we don't know if this company will continue to be liquid and solvent in the next 12 months.
Sure. Wow.
So I know that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and I think, sorry, I know it sounds a little bit weird, but what I'm getting to is to understand the importance of audit within the corporate space. I mean, most organizations depend on audit. I mean, I know for banks, as an example, it's a mandate to be audited annually and to make sure that the books are right and everything is okay. And again, it gives that good context in terms of what's the good work you guys are doing when you're coming in. So you're not just the policeman coming to whoop the company, but you're actually coming there to give an indication of what's the health of your company, how things are, what can management do differently to help themselves, and highlighting points that maybe we could be blindsided on as well, which is quite cool. Yeah. So now I can understand with the depth of your explanation why you enjoy audit. All right.
It can be hectic sometimes.
Say that again.
I'm saying it can be quite hectic and challenging sometimes.
I can imagine. And I mean, one of the things that is common, which I wanted to chat to you about, it's the amount of hours behind the work that you guys do. I mean, give us a sense, like a typical complex clients. How long does it take you? Do you work in the evening? Because often we see a group of auditors sitting in a room, mostly in a boardroom. We find you there in the morning, we leave you there in the evening.
Exactly.
How long do you typically, what's your longest hours in terms of working on a project with a client?
So it depends. It depends on the complexity of that client, the size of that client. So if it's a big listed client, towards the deadline week or weeks, if I can put it like that, we do tend to work quite a bit of overtime, but it's also very cyclical. We are not always working like 12, 15 hours a day. It's very seasonal. So closer to the sign of date, that's when we tend to work a lot of overtime. It also depends on when the year ends are. So in South Africa and pretty much the rest of the world, most companies have 31 December year ends as well as 30 June year ends. So typically find that from the second week of January up until maybe the end of February when we sign, it is a busy season, and then from there we take leave. Those who go on holiday, etc. And then it picks up again, from after June. So from second week of July, then we start to deal with the June year ends, and then it goes until end of August. So it's very seasonal.
Okay. At least it's a bit of comfort that it's not all the time.
Yes.
So anyone looking forward to to working within audit, they must not stress about the long hours. It's actually seasonal. I like that idea. And then, so tell us a little bit. I mean, you didn't tell us your transition out of Cape Town. Did you move out of Cape Town? Are you mostly working there, or are you in Joburg? Where are you now?
So I started in Cape Town for 4 years, and then I was an assistant lecturer for 1 year at the University of Cape Town still. And then from there, I moved to Joburg, and then I've been in Johannesburg ever since.
Ah, okay. So you didn't go back home to Malamuleng?
No, I didn't. There is no audit firm there.
You must start one.
That's a good idea. One day.
All right. And then if you think back to your career, what are some of the challenges that you experience in your job that you'd like to share So, or even pitfalls of what people typically do wrong when they try to get into an audit career and they find it very difficult for themselves.
So it can be quite challenging in terms of the hours, because when it gets busy, it sometimes gets busy. Like you work on the weekends and at night, so
Yeah.
that can sometimes be challenging, especially if you have a family and kids and etc. So that's quite challenging. I think the second thing for me is that, because as you can imagine, we deal with different clients and we see all kinds of issues and problems. So you do need to be quite technically strong, as well as um, be quite strong in when it comes to your soft skills as well. So it does require constant updating, in terms of new regulations, new standards, new accounting standards, etc. So you do need to keep up to date with what's going on out there.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And then there's a philosophy, or I don't even know if I want to call it a philosophy, but most accountants or CAs have this interest, right? Of you are done with your CA qualification, and then out of the blue, there's this CFA thing that they go after. What is this CFA story? Why most accountants, and in fact, most of the time, I find people that did not go the CA route go the CFA route. But lately, I also hear most of the CAs go the CFA route as well. What is there? To tell us a little bit about CFA and your views on it.
So CFA, well, firstly, just in case people don't know, it stands for Chartered Financial Analyst, and it's a world recognized designation for people in the financial management space.
Mhm.
So a lot of people tend to do it when they are in that kind of space, where especially in financial services, where they're in corporate finance, valuations, investment management, those types of things. It's just it's just a more focused designation when it comes to financial management. I'm actually also doing CFA. I'm currently on my level 2. So you are right that most chartered accountants do it, but it's quite an important, I guess, designation to have if you're in that space, because it is worldly recognized, and you do learn quite a number of skills in that field as well.
Okay. So basically it's you adding more to the already credible designation of a CA.
Basically.
But I get it. I mean, you mentioned the point earlier on about how you need to be expanding your knowledge and helping yourself to deal with certain technical issues that have changed or maybe have become different over time. So I guess I can understand. So you're saying you're on level 2 of CFA. How long
Yes.
how long is the typical preparation of a CFA exam?
So most websites, and this is not like any like study of advice, just in case someone sues me. You learn to be careful as an auditor.
You know what? We could check, we could take it as an opinion.
Exactly. So I mean, most people say 6 months. I also did my level 1, and I studied for 6 months, and I found that that for me was sufficient time to adequately prepare. But obviously, depending on your work schedule and how fast you grasp concepts, it might take you shorter or even longer than that. I actually know people that studied it in like 3 months, for example.
Sure.
So it does depend, but I think the kind of safe, comfortable time, in my opinion, is about 6 months.
Oh, okay. All right. And then how many levels are there? Does it matter whether you do 1, 2, and 3, or what's how many levels and what's the process?
So there's 3 levels, and then you must pass level 1 before you can do 2, and so on.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. And I hear a lot about things called Swizer notes to help you with that. I mean, In your preparation, I guess in that 6 months period, you could probably use as many tools as you can. Swizer Notes is one of those options. What would you say has helped you get over your level 1 and get ready for level 2 now?
So I think it's firstly early preparations, and I also did get similar notes to those that you've mentioned. I just won't mention the provider. But I guess the benefit of that is, it's prepared by the benefit of that is it's prepared by people with the relevant experience, and in most cases, people who've done it before. And in most cases, those notes are also summarized, so it does help from a time management perspective.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Especially if you, as for level 1, if you've got a commercial degree, and by that, if you've got some sort of BCom accounting, where you already know, the basic fundamentals of, all the topics that are taught there, I find that the summarized notes are quite helpful. But if you come in fresh from, a different field, it might be worth it to, get the full notes from CFA.
Oh, okay. All right. Great.
Yeah.
And it's also a very costly thing, just a side note.
Yes.
Like for accountants, it's not so costly.
we've paid for many board exams before that. So 3 more won't hurt.
All right. So wait, maybe one other thing I want to ask you around those lines is, so does it give you additional salary benefits like the other ones, like when you became a CA, or is it just something that people typically do out of I want more focus, or maybe I want a different career shift by doing the CFA?
Yeah. It's a tricky question. I don't want to over promote it. I don't want to say this is this magical tool that if you get it, then
You'll
you
be
are
good.
guaranteed to get this salary. But I mean, like in any field, if you are a doctor, if you want to specialize in, cardiology, or in brain studies, you study for that. And in most cases, there's obviously rewards and benefits in doing that. So I think any additional study that you obviously relevant to your career will in most cases have some sort of benefits. But I don't want to over promote it to say, it's a guarantee that if you get this thing, then your salary will go up by 200%. But it does help, from people that I speak to, especially if you are in that field, you constantly work with, valuations, or you're in the financial services sector. It does add, quite a lot to your credentials. And I mean, I've certainly seen it in my interviews as well. When immediately you say, I've got CA and CFA, then it gives you that added credibility, and it gives you that extra benefits.
Yeah. Look, I think I'm really glad. I know the conversation got a little bit technical, but I was chasing after the understanding of how complex the whole CA is, and it has multiple options, which is quite exciting as a career. And if I'm looking at you, Hanyani, and I'm saying, look, I wanna pursue a career and I wanna become a CA one day. What would you advise in terms of structuring my mind, focusing myself, and allowing myself the opportunity to do well in the profession? And what are some of the stuff that I should watch out for? If, for example, I'm not necessarily coming from an accounting background, for example, would I be able to do it as someone who did just pure science or something like that?
Yeah. I think what I can say is, especially because I think people with degrees know how to do proper research, and I have no doubt about that. I think especially to high school students, or people who've never went to university, or who don't know about this profession, I think it's important to do proper research about it. And there's a lot of information on Psycha as well. If what also helps is to do some sort of vacation work. For example, at our company, we hire matriculants to come and audit with us and teach them, show them what we do on a day-to-day basis, so that when they make that decision, that they are sure that this is what they want to do, and that they make an informed decision, and just be sure of what they want to do. It is a long and very difficult journey. It's a 7-year journey. So if you do if you do apply to be a CA, you must at least be somewhat sure that this is what I really want. So that's the advice that I can give you. The other thing is it's not impossible. I did it in record time, and many other people. But at the same time, I do want to highlight that it is quite a challenging journey. You do have to put in the hours in terms of studying, from first year to, post your degree, and during articles, you have to prepare for different, types of board exams. So it is a lot of work, but it's not impossible.
Fantastic. No, thank you so much for that advice. I think it's wonderful what your organization is also doing in terms of showing young people an experience, or coming to shadow you guys and see exactly what is done in the audit space, so that at least they can make a more informed decision. I guess things are a little bit better these days than how it was when we were growing up. There's more opportunities, there's ample people, there's a Hanyani who can give direction and help with the research. But yeah, no, I really thank you for your time and your insights around this. Any parting thoughts that you have, or a few last words that you want to share?
I think what has worked quite well for me, during my varsity years and even post university, is sometimes we must just dare to try. Sometimes you realize your true passion, and sometimes you get opportunities just by trying. I come from a very small town in Malamele, very far from the cities. But I thought to myself, I can study at UCT. Why not apply there? So at that time I had to do a manual form. So I literally sent a letter. I took an A4 page and I wrote a letter to UCT to say, please send me, application forms to my postal address, and they did that. So my advice is just try. Don't be afraid to try things. When you're at university, join different societies, meet different people from different, races, people from different cultures, get to know them, get to know how they do things. Try tutoring. Sometimes you never know if you're good at something unless you actually try it. So try that. If you are working, volunteer at work. I just got a new job now, and I've volunteered to do training to our, because we are a training firm, to our trainees. So, and because of those things, people recognize you, and as you get involved in different projects, you're also learning yourself. Sometimes you like preparing training, and you're like, I actually didn't quite understand this, but now that I'm preparing for it, I actually quite understand it better. And I think that's always helps, even in terms of career progression. And I think it has helped me as well. I became a senior manager at the age of 27 at an international accounting firm, which is quite rare. But I think you must always try. There's a new accounting standard. Put up your hands and say, I want to be a master of that standard. I want to be the key contact person when it comes to that client. I want to assist in training. Do you have any opportunities overseas? Why must I study here in South Africa? Why can't I go and study in Europe? Why can't I go and study in Oxford, in Cambridge? And sometimes we also worry about financing, but in most cases, the money follows the opportunities. When I decided to go to UCT, I didn't have a cent to pay for it, but I got a bursary that paid for like everything, including my allowances and food and things like that. So my advice to anyone out there, if you're a student, try to do things, dare to do things. When I was in grade 8, I said to my teacher, "Can I please help you teach mathematics when during like extra study time or something like that?" And I did that, and that's how I built my confidence, and that's how I got really good marks in mathematics. I mean, I ended up being top student in my school overall, as well as for the key subjects like accounting, mathematics, and physical science. But it's because I always did something like that. I would go to the teachers and say, can I actually try and solve this complex problem? Can I get extra work? Can I do that? Can I do that? So even adversity, post articles, people must just try and do things. Why can't you audit overseas, etc. So that's my advice.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. I think I took a number of things that you said. Dare to try, definitely. I mean, put your hand up whenever there's an opportunity. And I mean, every time you try something new, you discover new
Yeah,
things about yourself, even about that thing that you try to solve. You also spoke a little bit about the fact that you are now also thinking about giving back to others, which is fantastic, where you are teaching the trainee. So they walk the path the same as you, and you can help guide them.
yeah,
So, I mean, we need leaders like that. And I like the fact that you highlighted that you're a senior manager at a young age of 27. That's fantastic. That's brilliant. I mean, we often think these things will come to us when we are much older. But I
yeah.
mean, just again, put your hand out there and say, "Look, I want to try," and you'll be recognized as
Yeah.
you mentioned. So, thank you so much for that advice, and thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing your insights and joining us for this conversation.
Thank you very much. It was nice being here. I
Cool,
appreciate the invite.
awesome. Thanks, man.